Wait. Hold on. You're telling me that Marilyn Monroe's death wasn't a suicide, that it was actually part of a communist conspiracy, and that somehow the CIA and FBI were involved? Or that she was murdered by a labor leader and a mob boss? Let's think about that. Hello my darlings, thank you for clicking to watch this video. Today we're going to talk about the suspicious, air quote, wink wink, death of Marilyn Monroe. So let's get into it. So let's start with a little bit of background. Marilyn Monroe, if you didn't know, was an American actress, model, and singer, famous for playing the comedic blonde bombshell characters. She became one of the most popular sex symbols in the 1950s and 60s. She was born and raised in Los Angeles, and she spent most of her childhood in foster homes and an orphanage, and was married at the age of 16. By 1953, Monroe was one of the most marketable Hollywood stars. She had leading roles in the film noir Niagara and the comedies Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire, which established her star image as a dumb blonde. So if you ever see the dumb blonde trope in a movie, you know who to blame. In 1954, Fox Studios was reluctant to change Monroe's contract, so she founded her own film production company. She dedicated the year 1959 to building the company and began studying method acting under Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio. Later that year, she was awarded a new contract, which gave her more control and a larger salary. She won a Golden Globe for Best Actress for her work in Some Like It Hot, a critical and commercial success. Her last completed film was the drama Misfits. Monroe did struggle with a lot of problems. She suffered from mental illness and substance abuse for several years. In the early 1960s, Monroe had become dependent on drugs and alcohol, and she experienced various mental health problems that included depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and chronic insomnia. Ooh, I think. She had a reputation for being difficult to work with, and she frequently delayed productions by being late to film sets, in addition to having trouble remembering her lines. The two films Monroe completed in the 60s, Let's Make Love, The Misfits, were both critical, commercial failures. During the filming of The Misfits, she had to spend a week detoxing in a hospital. She spent the year 1961 preoccupied with various health problems, a bunch of surgeries, and in 1962 she begun filming Something's Got to Give for Fox. Days before the filming began, Monroe caught cyanitis, and Fox was advised by doctors to postpone filming, but they ignored the advice. Not surprising. Marilyn was too ill to work for the majority of the next 6 weeks, but despite confirmations by multiple doctors, the studio tried to pressure her by publicly alleging that she was faking the cyanitis. Monroe kept taking breaks, which led to her being fired by Fox in June of 1962. They also sued her for breach of contract, demanding $750,000 in damages, and shut down the production. The studio publicly blamed Monroe's drug addiction and alleged lack of professionalism for the demise of the film, even claiming she was mentally disturbed. Later on, she renegotiated her contract with Fox and was scheduled to resume filming in September on Something's Got to Give. This is a side note. I do not think she should have gone back, because they were being very mean. I mean, it's not exactly her fault that she has all these problems. And she had that whole production company that she was trying to make. I feel like she should have just stuck with it, because they would be horrible. I guess you need the money, but shish, God. But anyway, on Saturday, August 4th, Marilyn spent the morning discussing the possibility of her photos being published in the Playboy magazine with photographer Lawrence Schiller. At 4:30 p.m., her psychiatrist, Ralph Grunson, arrived at the house to conduct a therapy session. Monroe retired to her bedroom at approximately 8 p.m. She received a call from actor Peter Lawford, who became alarmed because Monroe sounded like she was under the influence of drugs. She told him to, quote, say goodbye to Pat, say goodbye to the president, who was Lawford's brother-in-law, and say goodbye to yourself, because you're a nice guy, end quote, before drifting off. Unable to reach Monroe, Lawford called his agent, Milton Ebbins, who unsuccessfully tried to reach Grunson, and later called Monroe's lawyer. The lawyer called Monroe's house and was assured by her housekeeper that she was fine. At approximately 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, August 5th, housekeeper Eunice Murray noticed that Monroe had locked herself in her bedroom and appeared unresponsive when Eunice looked into the bedroom through a window. Ralph Grunson, the psychiatrist, got into the room by breaking a window and found Monroe lying face down on her bed, covered by a sheet and clutching a telephone receiver. Her death was officially ruled a probable suicide by the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office, based on precedents of her overdosing and being prone to mood swings and suicidal ideation. No evidence of foul play was found, and accidental overdose was ruled out owing to the large amount of drugs she had ingested. Despite the coroner's findings, several conspiracy theories suggesting murder or accidental overdose have been produced since the mid-1960s. So, let's jump into some of those theories. Our first theory comes from anti-communist activist Frank A. Capel's self-published pamphlet, The Strange Death of Marilyn Monroe, which came out in 1964. She claimed that her death was part of a communist conspiracy. He claimed that Monroe and U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy had an affair, which she took too seriously and was threatening to cause a scandal. Kennedy therefore ordered her to be assassinated to protect his career. In addition to accusing Kennedy of being a communist sympathizer, Capel also claimed that many other people close to Monroe, such as her doctors and ex-husband, were communists. His friend, LAPD Sergeant Jack Clemens, aided him in developing his pamphlet. Jack Clemens was the first officer on the scene of Monroe's death, and he alleged that when he arrived at Monroe's house, her housekeeper was washing his sheets, and that he had a sixth sense that something was wrong. Capel dedicated his life to revealing an international communist conspiracy, air quotes, and Clemens was a member of the Police and Fire Research Organization, which sought to expose subversive activities which threatened our American way of life. In 1965, Capel, Clemens, and a third person were indicted by a California grand jury for conspiracy to rebel by obtaining and distributing a false affidavit, claiming that Senator Thomas Cachell, had been arrested for a homosexual act. They did this because Cachell had supported the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Capel pleaded guilty, and charges against Clemens were dropped after he resigned from the LAPD. Not a very good theory to start with. It sounds like a crazy dude, but it's fine. We'll just jump right into the second one. Our kind of second theory was brought on later in 1973. A man named Norman Miller published Marilyn, a biography. in which he repeated the claim that Monroe and Robert F. Kennedy had an affair, and speculated that she was killed by either the FBI or the CIA, who wished to use the murder as a point of pressure against the Kennedys. He believes Monroe's death was 10-1 an accidental suicide. In 1982, a private detective, Milo Sparaglio, published Marilyn Monroe Murder Cover-Up, in which he claimed that Monroe had been murdered by Jimmy Hoffa and mob boss Sam Giancana. Milo added statements made by Lionel Grandison, who worked at the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office at the time of Monroe's death. Grandison claimed that Monroe's body had been extensively bruised, but this had been omitted from the autopsy report, and that he had seen a red diary, but it mysteriously disappeared. Milo demanded that the investigation into Monroe's death be reopened by authorities, and the Los Angeles District Attorney agreed to review the case. The new investigation could not find any evidence to support the murder claims. Grandison, ironically, was found to not be a reliable witness, as he had been fired from the coroner's office for stealing corpses. It's just a lot of speculation, and of course, Capel is it's an interesting name. I've never heard the name. Was a weird, crazy dude. He reminded me of those people that you see on the side of the road that scream that the world's gonna end any second. So I feel like no one's reliable. I think it was just an accident on Monroe's side, on Marilyn's side. She didn't really mean it. She just wanted to sleep because she had that chronic insomnia or something, and it was just a little too much. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day or night wherever you are, and bye.